gramophone, I'd wind it round and round, and with a sharpish needle it made a cheerful sound. And then they amplified it, it was much louder then. And you sharpened fiber needles to make it soft again.
The Early Recordings Initiative, or ERI, was created here at the UC Santa Barbara Library to promote the preservation, access to, and appreciation of early sound recordings. Cylinders were produced for 50 years, and they changed a lot during that time. Protection and preservation of cylinders in the wild requires people who understand the recordings they encounter, as well as how to handle them. This program, the first in a series, was produced to help you do that. It covers the most common cylinders with information to help both collectors and archivists. To guide you, here is John Levin, a private collector who has studied cylinder recordings for over 50 years.
As David said, cylinders were around for more than 50 years. They went through a lot of changes over the decades. Some were long-lasting, others were flashes in the pan. Consequently, there are a lot of different styles out there, and exceptions aren't exceptional. Today I'm going to focus on the more common cylinder types. Cylinders were made in different shapes, different colors, and they have different playing times too. Those characteristics identify how to handle them, and also who made them. Unless you know the basics about the cylinders you handle, their materials, their fragility, their recording format, their rarity, it's easy to damage them. So today, I'm going to show you how to quickly identify cylinders. That way, before you even pick up one, you'll know what it is, how to handle it, play it, and ideally, even how to catalog it. But first, a few things about cylinder handling. Wash your hands. Your skin secretes natural oils that damage records over time. Rings, even small ones, can crack wax cylinders. I know it's inconvenient, but it's best to remove them. Pick up cylinder boxes carefully. Sometimes the box gives way and disaster follows. Don't squeeze the box too hard. Just pour or use 2 split fingers to gently pull records out. If they're stuck, twist gently to remove them. Never touch the grooves with your fingers. To grab a cylinder, pinch the rim with your thumb and forefinger, avoiding the grooves. If you accidentally touch the grooves, or to remove surface dust, keep a soft, beat-up 100% cotton t-shirt handy and gently wipe cylinders in the direction of the grooves, like this. Now, you might be thinking, why doesn't he wear gloves? Well, nitrile gloves are optional, but I don't use them, and by the way, neither does the Library of Congress. Okay, cylinder identification. Let's start with what cylinders are made of. This is really easy, but really important. Common cylinders are made of wax, which is actually a metallic soap, or they're made of celluloid. To know which type you're about to pick up, look inside. If the cylinder is the same color and material inside and out, it's made of wax, always. Why did I say about to pick up? Because composition determines how you handle the cylinder. Wax cylinders are really fragile. They shatter easily, they scratch easily, and you need to hold them gently. Believe me, breaking a cylinder because you weren't careful feels really terrible. Okay, celluloid. Celluloid is an early, very tough plastic. These cylinders are usually blue or black, but there are other colors too. Most, but not all celluloid cylinders have a core made of white plaster, board, or a combination of metal and cardboard like this one. They're really durable, and you don't need to handle them with kid gloves, but they scratch easily, and they can be damaged by improper playback. Oh, and there's this too. Playing any cylinder on a period machine wears it out. You won't hear it from one play to the next, but they're getting worn. If your cylinders are made of brown wax, never play them on period machines. As I said, cylinders went through a lot of changes over the decades. The most significant change was in 1908 with the introduction of a longer playing cylinder, the 4-minute format. Knowing a cylinder's format is as important as knowing its composition. Get the format wrong and you risk damaging the record. The recording format of cylinders is described by approximate running time, 4 minutes, as I just said, or 2 minutes. Running time is based on the rate of travel of the reproducer and the corresponding number of grooves per inch, not cylinder speed. 2-minute cylinders have 100 grooves per inch. 4-minute cylinders have 200 grooves per inch. So how do you know if a cylinder is 2-minute or 4-minute? Eventually, you'll probably be able to eyeball this, but for now, use the 1/8 inch rule. That is, a ruler with markings every 1/8 inch. Place a ruler parallel to the edge of the cylinder and look at the number of grooves between two 1/8 inch markings. If it looks like there are about 12 grooves, it's a 2-minute cylinder. If there are a lot more grooves, it's probably 4-minute. I say probably because occasionally you may encounter cylinders with an intermediate number of grooves. These are usually cylinders for dictation, and they have either 150 or 160 grooves per inch. Okay, I talked a bit about handling before, but now that you know if a cylinder is made of wax or celluloid, here's more about it. First, and most important, wax is very sensitive to temperature, rough handling, poor storage, and more. Ironically, the final wax format, 4-minute wax, which often has this dark gray discoloration, is the most fragile and temperature sensitive. So let's use it to demonstrate a few things. First, hold wax cylinders gently. Be extra gentle with 4-minute wax. Don't even hold these in your hand for long. Just that temperature change can make them crack. Then place them on the mandrel gently. Now, why am I using a modern machine? Because 4-minute wax, like brown wax, is so fragile you should never play it on old machines. With all wax, avoid rapid temperature changes, like putting a room temperature wax cylinder on a cold metal mandrel or taking a cylinder out of 60-degree storage into a 75-degree room. Okay, handling celluloid. Celluloid looks indestructible, and some manufacturers even branded these that way, but they scratch, wear, and sometimes split starting at the bottom of the cylinder. If you see a split, put the record on the mandrel carefully to keep the split from getting worse. If the plaster has shrunk and the cylinder won't slide onto a mandrel, buy one of these, a cylinder reamer. Time to talk about storage. If you're with a library or archive, you'll probably have a specialized storage environment like this. But if you're a private collector like me, with cylinders stored in your house, what you need to know is simple but important. Cylinders need low to moderate humidity and moderate temperatures. Of course, celluloid cylinders can stand the extremes better than wax, but celluloid warps and the cylinder cores absorb moisture, so don't be fooled by their apparent toughness. If you don't know the humidity where you're storing cylinders, find out what it is. Hygrometers are really cheap. If the humidity is above 55%, more than 10 to 15 days of the year, you need to get a dehumidifier and set it for 45 or 50%. Mold and other wax degradation start at 60%, and they can damage records in a matter of days. If you already have a dehumidifier, don't trust its readout. They're not accurate. If you have air conditioning, don't trust it to keep your cylinders dry. Buy hygrometers and be sure. Oh, and if you're storing cylinders in a basement or near concrete, be careful. Never put a box of records on concrete. People ask me about storing cylinders in individual boxes. My preference is to surround them with air. That is, I like pegs. Expensive archival boxes all have pegs. On the other hand, flocked boxes absorb moisture and hold it against the media. In the beginning, I said you'd learn what the cylinder is before you play it, but I haven't told you how. This is where things get complicated, so complicated, in fact, that I'm only going to address American cylinders, and to do this properly, you will need to download this identification guide. The guide starts with cylinder material, then it drills down to cylinder color. Notice that black cylinders are made of both wax and celluloid. Now there are differentiators for each combination, and some cylinders have 2 tiers of differentiation. When you reach the bottom, there's the company or possible companies whose cylinders match these criteria. Why do I say possible? Well, as I said at the beginning, exceptions aren't exceptional, and this chart is for common cylinders only. There are occasional oddballs. And speaking of oddballs, Today I've only talked about so-called standard size cylinders. They're all about 4 inches long and 2 inches in diameter. But there are all kinds of other cylinder shapes and sizes. There are concert-sized cylinders, cylinders with larger outer diameters, cylinders with different inside diameters, and there are variants in standard cylinder shapes like these. But now you know how to identify the most common cylinder types, you know the way they're formatted, and most importantly, you know how to handle, store, and take care of them, which all adds up to more enjoyment of your collection today and for future collectors and archivists tomorrow.
I hope this video has provided information that helps you better understand and know the cylinders you encounter. With this basic information, you can make better choices about how to handle and manage irreplaceable recordings. There is a lot more general information about cylinders on the UCSB Library website. And if you want to learn more about how to play cylinder records properly, I hope you will watch the companion video to this one, available at this URL. Thanks for joining us today.
I had a little gramophone. I'd wind it round and round, and with a sharpish needle it made a cheerful sound. And then they amplified it, it was much louder then. And you sharpened fiber needles to make it soft again.